Okay, hello, welcome everyone, and welcome to another edition of SFM Conversations with me, Rob Sewell, Shape Your Future Online. Today, I have, for the first time for myself, a couple in the conversation. So please, everyone, and say welcome to CJ and Kelsey. Say hello, CJ and Kelsey.
Hello.
So yeah, I'm really excited today. I mean, I've met you guys probably, what was it, last month, I think, in Texas, wasn't it, at one event. I really like you guys, which is why I've invited you on today. So let's just dive straight into this, because no one wants to hear me talk. If you want to hear me talk, check me out on my YouTube channel. But yeah, so CJ and Kelsey, if you could maybe just give us a bit of a background on yourselves, what you've been doing so far in your life. And how you've got to come into the SFM. That's okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll kick us off because I got us both into it. But for the last, I grew up thinking that I always needed to, work my ass off in order to get to success. So I tried traditional route. I mean, I'm a flight instructor currently, and I'm a flight instructor, and I also tried, I was the business administrator for a cannabis business here in Portland, Oregon. And working 60 hours a week, it was fun, but just burning myself out. And I discovered SFM like most people, saw a video on YouTube, and it was just, there was a promise of the future that I had not heard before, something that was different, and promising enough for me to check it out. And so, I checked it out, watched the 7-day video series, and I watched the 7 videos, and I was like, oh my gosh, is this real? Can it be this way? But I was, and at the same time, I was still, I was skeptical. I was like, okay, cool. This is like really cool. And what's the catch? Who are these guys really? Like, am I about to get duped? But I kept going. And so happy I did. It took 6 months to get Kelsey, my partner. We've been together for 8.5 years at this point. And we've always wanted that future of freedom, that future of play. And she works as a nurse. I don't want to get too far into her story. And both of us were, in the traditional economy, doing the traditional job, trading our time for money, working our butts off, and exhausted on the weekends. And seeing this different model was enticing. And it's been about 11 months now total for me. And God, I'm so happy that I'm in the place that I'm at. So that's
so let's see. I feel like everybody has this wandering path to get to where they are right now, and it's hard to know why the things happen in the past, but somehow all those lessons weave together. So I went to undergrad in environmental studies. I was really passionate about advocating and protecting the environment, and got into canvassing, which is kind of like the go-to job after school, but it's like expected 80 hours a week with minimum wage. And I was like, okay, this is not quite how I want to advocate for the environment, because I'm going to suffer in the process. And I've always been a big advocate for self-care, and I didn't see how that was going to be sustainable for me. So we actually moved to Kauai and lived on an organic farm for 6 months. And that was incredible.
Totally.
We learned how to live in a community and collaborate with people and live completely off of the land. But there was something missing there in being challenged and like expanding on the skill sets that we really wanted to develop in ourselves in life. And so we came back to Oregon, which is when he helped open up the dispensary. And I went back to school to become a nurse. I had always been interested in healthcare, but more like the route of naturopathic and herbalism, more like integrated holistic health. But I didn't see that that was being accessible to the population I wanted to serve. Like there's just like this financial barrier there for people who really need the healthcare. And I found that nursing is so flexible that I can offer that skill set and then also like bring in different modalities of healthcare to people. And so I went through that crazy process of going to nursing school. And
it was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was an intense experience for both of us. And now I've been a nurse for a little over a year, and it's totally transformed me in all of the best ways. I think the biggest one is like how to communicate really directly with people and also hold boundaries, because my patient population, they have really heavy life stories. And it's a gift to be able to interact with them and support them in that really vulnerable time in their life. But there was that same feeling as what I felt with the canvassing, where I'm just so drained at the end of the day. I work 12.5-hour shifts and sometimes 16-hour shifts, and coming home, like all of my energy is going outward. And so those 3 days, it's a total depletion process. And then my days off, I just feel like I have to be really selfish and almost like defensive of my time to like recharge myself so then I can be ready to go at it again. And for our relationship, that has been really hard because, I mean, on the days that I'm working, I don't have a mental space to even hear how his day is, because I've been doing that all day. Sometimes it's like physically painful. I'm like, I can't hear you right now. And also it's just, I was just got like a glimpse of the future, and we really want to have kids in the next couple of years, and we're going to have kids in the next couple of years. And I don't want to have that dynamic with our kids too. Like, I don't want to come home depleted and not have energy and presence with our kids. And so he was sharing about 6-figure mentors with me, and I was super skeptical about it. Thought it was a scheme at first, which I think is a lot of people's responses to it. Responses to things we don't understand.
Right.
And then I think more out of like curiosity and support for what he's up to, because he dove deep into it. I started to watch the 7-day video series. And there was something there that like lit up in me, because it was this like reawakening of my imagination that I didn't realize had like totally shut down. And since I was a kid, I had such a huge imagination as a kid, imaginary friends, like everything. And it was so fun to like reawaken that part and realize that all the awesome visions that we have for our future of like traveling the world, of creating an intentional community where we live off of land, like contributing to people to live their powerful selves as their powerful selves, like there's actually a structure to make that happen.
It was it just hit me. It was like possibility came back into our life, right? Possibility was present once again, because we actually saw that there was a different way to do things, a different way to create something. So it was like all the possibility, you know, both of us would come home and we'd be so depleted, and it was like, hey, how was your day? Yeah, my day. Cool. You know, and then, I mean, it's just so lame. And then with that possibility coming back in, just lit us up.
Yeah, I mean, I resonate with a lot of that in your story. I mean, I'm speaking to quite a lot of people in the community who are a little bit younger than myself, and you know, really wishing that I'd found something like this earlier myself. I mean, I spent 20 years of my life going through that depletion, coming home, not being, you know, working so hard and what, you know, doing it to get more money, more promotions, to get more money, more responsibility, and just finding that it just made my life worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
To the point where, you know, I had issues with drugs and alcohol. You know, you're looking to have children. I have 2 children, 15 and 11. You know, I wasn't spending any quality time with them whatsoever. You know, I did 12 odd hours a day out, unless I was traveling. Sometimes I wouldn't even see them for weeks on end, and then I'd be working at home. I would have just no time for anything.
Yeah,
it was not a nice way to live life. And you know, and I relate to, you know, you talking as a nurse, and because my mother was a nurse for 40 years, and my father was a policeman for 30 years, and they just worked shifts. So, you know, what one would work, the other one would sleep, you know, it was kind of like on and off like this. So yeah, I relate to a lot of that in the story. I'm interested to know, so, you know, CJ, you were doing this for 6 months before Kelsey got on board, and you've said there, I mean, both of you were skeptical at first, but I mean, did you really support CJ in what he was doing for that 6 months before you came on board? What was the kind of relationship like there? What were the conversations around it? Was it kind of like just CJ, you know, you get on and do with kind of whatever you're doing? Was there support, or what was the conversation like there, guys?
You can speak to what your impression of support.
Yeah, well, let's have it from both sides and be honest, guys.
Honestly, I can't remember all that much. Right? It was, I mean, my memory of it is that I was just doing this thing, you know, and Kelsey was like, all right, cool, like, whatever. You know, it's like, yeah, do your thing, like, do whatever you want. I'm not your mom. I'm not gonna control you, you know? And after, I mean, that's when I started to like share it with her, because I wanted her to be doing it with me for multiple reasons, right? I know the kind of student she is. I know that she's seriously, you know, she studies her ass off, and she's really smart, and she gets things on a completely different level than I get them. And I knew that would be tremendously beneficial for me and her and our kids and our future, right? And so to tag team it, I knew would be a really good thing, and I didn't want to like force feed it to her. So I would try and just like drop little like crumbs here or there, you know, like kind of like feed her along, and like this is really cool, and then like, hey, you know, here's some 7 videos, just check them out. And she was like, yeah, okay, maybe. Yeah, okay, maybe. Yeah, maybe. Okay, yeah, I'll watch them someday.
Yeah, I feel like it was exactly what you're saying, where like, oh yeah, that's just his thing. Like we each have we try really hard to have our individual sovereignty and like support each other in that process. So it's like, oh, this is his thing. I just became a nurse, so I was like drowning in that experience of like my own career. And so I didn't really have a space or create a space for taking on something new. I just saw more as his thing, and I wasn't sure how long it was gonna last. He dives into interests, and then just like the rest of us, they fade away. And I think that the really like that I think that what really got it for me, I mean, the 7-day videos for sure was like the curiosity was piqued, but after you came back from the brand incubator, I was like, wow, this is really profound.
Yeah. So this leads on to kind of my next question. So maybe you can keep going with it, which is, have you, I mean, I guess at this point, did you notice some changes in CJ? Mm. And then I guess, the question to CJ after that would be, have you noticed some changes in Kelsey since she's got involved as well? Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah. After the brand incubator, that was June of this year, 2018. Wow, I'm already in 2019 of 2018. That really expanded my notion of what Six Figure Mentors was, because at first, like CJ's introduction of it, as well as through the videos, it's really heavy on the online business aspect of it, like the logistics of how to create financial freedom and live a laptop lifestyle, which was really intriguing, but there was just some inauthenticity that I felt in that standing by itself. And listening to his experience about the brand incubator was that mindset shift that Six Figure Mentors is incredible about providing. And what I saw for him is standing powerfully in his truth and in his story, not as a victim to his circumstances as a child, but taking pride in how his story has shaped who he is today, and not censoring or altering his, like he came back fully self-expressed, and was seen and like validated for that full self-expression. So then that was just like an extra confirmation that it's safe for him to do that. And it was really fun to see like those layers be shed, and for him to be like, to feel that and to present himself to the world that way.
Is that the only change that you've seen?
What? That was a huge change.
And so what about you, CJ? Have you seen any changes in Kelsey since she's embarked on the journey?
Yeah, I have. I think one of the, can I tell a story about the laundry?
If you want to.
You started, you have to finish, CJ. Come on.
I can make something else up. So Kelsey and I have pretty different backgrounds, and we approach finances radically different. She's much more thrifty than me, and she grew up like going to, it's called Granny's Attic. It's a secondhand shop. It is awesome. It's a great spot, like super cool. And me, I grew up like, my parents would be like, yeah, let's go to Goodwill or Deseret Industries. It's like, no, I'm not gonna wear clothes from somebody else's closet. That's lame, right? Like whatever. I had such a chip on my shoulder, and so we, through this process, there's that whole thing about the financial thermostat.
Yes.
And raising your financial thermostat. And we're getting married in September of next year. And Kelsey and her friend went out to look for a wedding dress. And Kelsey came back with a piece of lingerie that cost $175, brand new, and it blew my mind. I was like, "What, Kelsey, my little lady?" And I was so stoked that she would spend that amount of money on herself. She would invest that amount of money on a piece of clothing that no one other than myself and her would see.
Yeah.
It would bring her so much happiness, and because that's not something that she would do before. And so that's like, just having the ability to approach life from a different standpoint, like financially speaking, is a huge shift, right? Like Rob, when you think about something as expensive, then that sets precedence for everything else. Of like, okay, cool, $1,000, that's expensive. That takes a lot for me to get there. When in fact, $1,000, that's really not that much. Like, it's all perspective. Obviously, it depends.
Right. Absolutely.
There's not a wrong financial thermostat,
But for the life that we're out to create, there's like a certain standard.
It comes back to possibility. You know, what do we hold as a possibility? And that's the other thing that I've seen that has been a dramatic shift in Kelsey, and me as well, is like, what is possible? Like, what kind of life can we actually have? Like, not like this ho-hum, like, okay, well, we'll settle for, you know, this life of mediocrity because that's just what's available. But like, no, like what's possible? And let's dream it, and then let's go after it like our life depends on it, because it fucking does. Excuse me.
Okay, go for it. I think that's great, and I can relate to that, because time and time again in my life, you know, I've always thought that there must be more, but then I've just always gone back to exactly the same kind. You know, I've looked for the career changes and all that sort of stuff, and I've just always manifested exactly the same kind of life for myself. It was always going one way, and it was not the right way. But I think this is great, because another thing here is, you know, we're thinking that SFM it's about learning an online business. It's about learning marketing, which it is, but there's just so much more to it in terms of the mindset. And I mean, you need that, right? You need it, but without the mindset, you've got nothing. You're going nowhere. But it's great that you can have those kind of conversations, especially around things like money and your ideas about money, which are all come from your past, which, you know, is the thing that splits people up, right, in relationships. You know, if you're able to start having conversations about that, you know, at a stage like this in your relationship, that's fantastic, isn't it? That's great. Next question I've got written down here is, you know, how do you see your life as a couple now? You know, compared to maybe what it was, the visions for your life, let's say 1 or 2 years ago. You know, now you're getting into this, and you've just told us that, you know that anything's possible if you go together, you go after it. Yeah. What is your life looking now, 5, 10 years down the line, compared to what it would have looked like, say, 2 years ago?
Well, let me just start by saying it occurs as invigorating. It looks invigorating and exciting and much more passionate than it did 2 years ago, right? Like that is huge. And I mean, want to say a little bit more about the next?
Yeah, I feel like
5-year plan.
Yeah, our 5-year plan.
We got a good 5-year plan.
We do have a good one. Yeah, I think it's the same thing around like the awakening, the imagination and possibility. So our 5-year plan is to, by September, be making
September at the latest.
Yeah.
So September at the latest. We're getting married September 1st, right? It's November 2nd, so we've got 10 months. And yeah, and by then, Kelsey will have been retired from a nurse. We will be making outside of gross. I can never remember net or gross, but we will each have a $5,000 salary. And you know, while just putting money away and like continuing to scale the business. And so get married September, and
then pack up all of our stuff. And in Portland, our lease ends at the end of October. So pack up all of our stuff and go to the Black Retreat in Bali in November. And from there, that will just be like the launching point for a year of traveling the world. And we're really excited about like both just like playing, because we both love to travel, and pursuing our two of our specific interests, mine being like around creating integrated like healthcare systems that bring in traditional medicine as well as Western medicine, and like creating a collaborative system that respects everybody's viewpoints. And going around the world and like gathering information on that to create a model that's effective. And then CJ wants to gather information and resources on.
CJ, what are you doing?
Yeah, so like go traveling the world and just see and
Okay.
And something that is very dear to my heart is coming of age, is like the rite of passage, especially for young boys in this day and age. They tend to do really dangerous and harmful things in order to test themselves, right? In order to feel like alive and like, and so it's like I want to I worked in wilderness therapy for about 8 years, taking at-risk youth out into the wilderness and helping them get their life back on track. And so something that I want to do is gather resources from around the world and then bring them back and create this other thing that creates leaders out of young men and boys. And ideally, how I see it going is drawing on those resources, those global resources, and pulling young boys from boys and young men from those communities and giving them this opportunity to experience something beyond what they otherwise would, and then take it back to their communities and become community leaders and just have a global explosion of incredible, like, centered and powerful men, leaders, right? And I mean, reclaiming what it means to be a man. And that's, so that'll, that's kind of like
our two like big like life projects.
Yeah,
and then
you've got great business ideas there, great business. This is what you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Thing, isn't it? Me for the same, I'm doing exactly the same thing as you guys are at the moment. I'm building my affiliate business. But I already do a lot of work, charity work with people with drug and alcohol addictions at the moment. I'll always continue with that, but I also want to do some life coaching around, again, young to middle-aged men who just really lost direction in life. That's my passion. The person that I used to be, that I don't want people to become and continue with. I don't want people to go through that pain, that loss of direction, the incredible stress of some of the professional work that people do. It's just and destroying your family around you, trying to achieve something that you don't even want to achieve. It can be a mad life for some people, really. So I've got passions around that and business ideas galore around that. So SFM puts you in a great space, doesn't it, to be able to go and do that and pursue your real passions in life, and maybe even find them if you don't know what they are.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start to wrap this up now. I think we've been about 30 minutes, but in terms of advice that you would give people, maybe starting an online business, transitioning from a traditional role, and particularly as a couple, what kind of advice would you give people starting out, or maybe if people are skeptical?
Well, I feel like one of them is to sit down and do the visioning together. Like, as a partnership, it's so important to be moving forward as individuals, but together. Aligned, yeah. And so to do visioning and like have no logistics or reasoning behind the visioning, just like, if I could have anything in my life, like what would my life look like? What would our life look like? And get super excited together about it. because that's going to be the fire that then motivates them forward, and it's what they're aligned on, so it's easier to like support each other forward instead of like one person dragging the other person towards their vision.
That's great advice. Yeah.
What about you?
It's really good advice.
After that, CJ, that was pretty good. You can have to
I mean, I'll talk about transitioning, right, from a traditional to this kind of work. I mean, for me, I jumped in, right? Like I jumped in, and I mean, I quit my job, and like I'm doing this full time, and I'm so thankful that I did that, and that I had the ability to do that. And, you know, it took something to get to that point, to have that ability, and recognizing that it can be a longer process than you think it's going to be. And so not getting ahead of yourself, because I feel like I actually got ahead of myself, right? I was like, oh, cool, I'll do this and like blah, blah, blah. And so comparing, yeah, but I was a little preemptive in quitting my job, I guess I'll say. You know, I mean, I definitely feel I'm definitely grateful, and there's an added like level of stress, of urgency, of finances, because I have, you know, this is like the amount of money that I have, and I'm not making any money outside of SFM, and so that's like, that adds the urgency, right? I mean, it's like and it's kind of a good thing, because it's like, cool, like fucking do it.
Yep, I can relate to that. I sold my house to do this, so.
Wow.
Yeah, you totally. Yeah, so you know.
I just jumped in. I knew it's right. I knew it's right.
Yeah,
I knew it was in the right place. I knew I knew something different, and I knew that this was all about developing myself personally to get there too.
Yeah.
And I haven't been disappointed.
Yeah, likewise. I mean, each event I go to, I'm like, oh my God, I'm blown away. I'm so like this, the brand incubator worth every penny that I spent.
Yes.
You know, and then the gold thing, and then we haven't done the black retreat yet.
Yeah, have you done that? I'm doing mine next year. So.
Okay, cool. I'll
Which
see you
one
there.
are you doing? The one in
I think maybe April. I think I'll be sooner rather than later, but yeah.
That's when we're doing ours with you.
Yeah, but
I fancy the Caribbean, CJ.
Yeah.
It's nice. But anyway, you know, like it's knowing the amount of value that these guys bring. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So I'm so grateful that I decided to, you know, take pretty much my life savings, you know, everything I had, and like, cool, let's just invest everything I have, budget it out for the next 12 months, and do what needs to be done to get this going.
Okay, that's good advice. I think we'll leave it at that. So it's great. I'm really grateful for you guys showing up today as well. I'm sure you'll offer massive value, especially for any couples who are wanting to embark on this kind of journey together. So thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate the questions, and look forward to talking to you later.
Yeah, we'll speak soon, I'm sure. Okay.
All right, man.
Bye now.
Okay.